People, deluded, I'm back again. It's the morning after the night before. Arsenal did lose 2-1 against Wolves. We've now lost 3 home games on the spin. Forgive me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure I'm not. You're not dreaming, we're firmly in this nightmare. Spurs are actually top of the league, you know. And I'm sure already many Arsenal fans in November, fair enough, we're approaching December this week, want the Premier League to end. And especially, you know, the form of on the topic of North London and the North London derby, we'll speak about it on my channel more towards the end of the week. And the good thing is form goes out the window, and in true Arsenal fashion, it wouldn't surprise me if being on this barren run we won, but that's just Arsenal hoodoo. In true Arsenal fashion, you can't look past Spurs. You know, Spurs don't get 3 points, similar to Leeds didn't get 3 points against Arsenal. This current Arsenal side should be kicking yourself. In relation to the Wolves game, people, I've watched it again. I don't know why I do this to myself at this point. I need to have self-care. I'm not gonna lie, I found since Arteta's come back into the club, I've found more emotional attachment to Arsenal. Like, I've been an Arsenal fan, I love my football club, but one thing, for obvious reasons, if you've been watching Arsenal for close to 20 years now, you can see why I'd want to remove my emotional attachment to the club. You can see how it hurts, and definitely with doing the YouTube stuff, I genuinely looked at it as in the sense of, you know, I'm Roy Keane or something just talking about Arsenal Sky Sports. That was to protect my health, because it pains me. It pains me seeing Arsenal do this for obvious reasons, because I can't change a damn thing. More of the same is going to happen. We do, the definition of insanity is doing the same things multiple times and expecting a difference. It hasn't happened. I'm seeing players come out and managers come out and say we need to do this, we need to do that before and after games, and regardless, I'm not seeing it. So it's more of the same. First and foremost, I'll say congratulations to Wolves, because what I didn't see in Arsenal, I saw a game plan. You know, Nuno has only prior to playing 4 at the back twice this week, you know, good 4 points from Southampton, and Arsenal really could have got 6 really, but you'd have to go back to his poor old days when he played a back 4 on a consistent basis. He's gone with a back 3, which he hasn't done prior to this week twice. I mean, a back 4 twice. And, you know, mixed success against Southampton. It worked against Arsenal. Either way, you have to credit him, because he took a risk. You know, he was brave to change things. He's clearly worked on it all week. Individually, every player knew their job and was scared to let their teammates down. And all of them wanted to be a difference maker. So I can't take nothing away from Wolves. You know, only criticism, we scored a goal. They could have had a clean sheet. But they were, you know, and they rid their luck to a degree in the second half. Not that we created much or had shots on target, but it was more of a defensive performance in the second half. But congratulations to Wolves, really. Congratulations to Nuno and everybody involved. You know, everything they worked on in the week paid off. Everybody shined. You know, we'll focus on the defenders. I mean, on the attackers. Podence was very good in that 10 position. Neto and Adama together with Podence. We knew these 3 were going to cause trouble. Fabio Silva, when he came off the bench, obviously didn't set the world alight, but I personally think he did all right from a Wolves perspective. If I was Nelson Semedo, I would have wanted to get forward a bit more against Tierney and Arsenal personally. But man to a man, they did their job. And one thing I will say is, you know, it's a typical thing. It doesn't matter if players are on a barren run, clubs are on a barren run, you play Arsenal and things change. Credit to Nuno, you know, what's the point sitting back? But I have to say, you know, they're playing Liverpool next week, forgive me if I'm wrong. Do you think he's going to remain with a back 4? If he does, fair play. DG's got humble pie, he has to eat humble pie, and I've got egg on my face. Do you think Nuno is going to play Liverpool, regardless of these injuries, with a back 4? Or do you think he's going to go to a back 5? And I have to say, again, Nuno can do what he wants. But why is it against Arsenal he fancied it, you know? He didn't really fancy it against Southampton. He changed because Connor Cody was injured. Connor Cody, I mean, he missed out for whatever reason. I think it was due to COVID or whatever. Precautions. He's played against Arsenal, he's got Connor Cody back, you know, a key cog to that team, and he's remained with a back 4. Why is that? Why against Arsenal have they said, you know what, let's not play with that handbrake, let's be a bit expansive, let's take a risk? Why are we the team that a team wants to take a risk against? Because he probably won't do it against Liverpool. And that has to, and we know why, because we're easy prey. This game was lost first and foremost because of the same things: an inability to concentrate, cheap mistakes, not starting well, and also the attack. We had a lack of our attacking transition is very stale. And for me, defensively, you go into this game, you know Adama, you know Pedrick Neto, who was a thorn in our side all game. Podence, if he actually scored the goal, but go and look in the build up for the first. He's actually, I'll show you in the tactics board in a sec how he dropped people. But we knew what we was in. We knew we can't can't afford to get hit on the counter attack. We can't afford to get hit 1v1. We have to be good on transition. Way too much space in the midfield. Way too many moments where, as poor as Bellerin is, Neto is 1v1 against him. You know, these are things that a blind man could see. Me and you listening to this with limited resources, we can go on Google, we can watch Wolves' old games like I typically do in my previews and stuff in the build up to games, and give you lot little pointers and tips, and you lot the same. So why is it when they've got We Scout, you've got hours of footage available, you know, just because we played Wolves this week, again, you'd imagine Arsenal have told a member of staff for the next couple of weeks, go and watch Wolves, go and absorb them, go and get to their grounds if possible, you know, normally opposition scouts, and find things. And again, we've been poor on the transition. It's baffling, you know, it's baffling what you'd expect. Mentally, the team is poor. You know, the tactics with Arteta, again, he switched to 4 at the back. I'm not going to critique that. But it doesn't matter if you're in a 4 or a 5, people. You know, the intention has to be there. There's a lack of intention getting forward. There's a lack of invention. There's a lack of attacking phases of play. That's why it's highlighted and man say, oh, we went with a back 4 or 5 and this and that. Perfect example, Wolves. You know, Wolves have played, fair enough, Wolves have struggled to score goals this season. Did it look like a team that struggled to score goals in that 90 minutes? You know, why is it when Wolves are, fair enough, Wolves fans might be saying it different if they see that formation on a regular basis. But I guarantee Wolves did, for me anyways, Wolves didn't look like a team that's been playing back 5 all the time, so they go to a back 4 and they can't do it. You know, you've got to be able to adjust, and they did that. So why is it with us? That's poor coaching at the moment, and that's poor players unable to really heed these tactics. It's a mixture. We're a poor side and we're a badly coached side. You know, we've got a number of bad eggs, a number of individuals. I've got a lot of love for Arteta, but you know, we're a badly coached side. He's been touching a year now. I'm not saying we need to be the finished article, but you're struggling to see the style of play. You're seeing the same mistakes. Defensively, we're overrated because you saw the goals we conceded. You see the goals, you know, you saw how we were open against Leeds. You saw how Villa put us to the sword. You know, we're overrated. We're toothless in front of goal through a mixture of a lack of attacking phases of play and players not standing up to be counted and players hiding within themselves. It's atrocious, people. Individually, there's not too many players that can leave that field with any joy. Players look like they're down in tools. Players look like they couldn't be interested. Players look like they had no fight, people. All of which are Arsenal players, you know, whether you're the captain or a young player. It was poor. Like I said, we're a badly coached side. Why can Wolves switch and we don't say they look unsure of themselves in a back 3 and a 4 and things like they did? They look like they've been playing a back 4. You know, Bowley, all them man there. Bowley, since he's walked into Wolves, has been playing a back 3. They've switched to a 4. You know, did it look like any of them players even, you know, we would be saying that if we didn't know about the contexts? Why can that be said? Fair enough, Nuno has had longer with these boys and things like that, and I hear all of that, but this highlights the issue, people. Poor on the defensive transition. On the attacking, we're simply stale and lifeless, people. You know, and we've lost, for me as well, what's concerning, we've lost against 3 teams that can exploit you on the counter, and we've not done well enough, and we've not learnt our lessons. You know, Leicester, you know, with Jamie Vardy and all of them on the counter, be careful. Didn't learn our lessons in the following games. Going into that game, like I said, against Leicester, you should be able to look at the game we played against them last season to learn from it. We didn't learn against Aston Villa. Again, good on the break. We didn't learn today. And obviously, if we throw in the away game against Leeds, yeah, we got a point. But do you see what I'm saying? If we were to add up the amount of shots we have had at these opposition's boxes over them games, and the shots we had to concede, it's not sustainable. We're not shooting enough. We're not looking like a team that wants to play football. We clearly can't defend consistently well. You know, the isolated incidents is cool, but it's poor, people. And for me, it's the naivety. It's like, I'm not excusing Arteta because I think there isn't, you can't, you know, you have to call a spade a spade. The attacking, the lack of coaching is concerning at the moment. But these players, they're not learning. You're not, like I said, you know, when you're going against Adama, against Neto, against Podence, you have to win your individual battles. You have to earn the right to play. 1v1, help your fullbacks. Don't allow, you know, make sure you defend well. And we failed to do that, you know, failed to do that. You know, players are not standing up to be counted. And a lot of them just aren't good enough, really and truly. And again, I'm not going to get over it. You know, the midfield, Xhaka, Ceballos, poor. Joe Willock tried in the second half, but still poor. Saka, you know, I'm always going to back him. Very so-so/poor. William got an assist, still poor. Gabriel tried. A Batman Anonymous, to put it nicely. Ceballos, don't see how you're going to play for Real Madrid. Bellerin simply got savaged. Tierney, you know, he tried to go down fighting, but it is what it is. David Luiz, you know, he tried to go down fighting, but he needed to come off. Leno, I know it took a deflection, but Leno should have done better for that goal as well, in my opinion. But even the sequence that led to it, Leno is not alone, and it's actually, I don't think it's Leno's fault, because you can see these things happening. You know, if you know that they're playing a back four, if you know they've got wide men, if you know being at home you need to be on the front foot, be aware of the defensive transitions. And for Arteta, you have to look at the question to not start Reece Nelson over Willian. You have to look at Xhaka and Ceballos playing, and you've got El Nene on the bench and not playing him. You know, and what's concerning is Xhaka and Ceballos. Again, if they do well against Spurs, you're a hero in fans' books again. But so you heard Arteta come out and basically tell us, you know, Partey is missing for a minute. We haven't been put a time scale, but he said he'll be missing for the next few weeks. And, you know, no disrespect to El Nene, but the fact of I'm begging Arteta to start El Nene shows where we are as a club. Don't get it twisted and don't get me confused. El Nene's deserved his spot, but this highlights it. You know, Ceballos, you've played for Real Madrid. You know, Xhaka, your Switzerland captain. It should be a no contest, you know. No contest. In fact, both of you played poorly. Ceballos, don't see how you're playing for Real Madrid. You'll be lucky to play for Oviedo and them things there if you play like this. You know, Ceballos does a lot of fucking talking, and it doesn't count, people. You know, for the goals were poor. Again, not to scale, not to scale, people, but it's more, again, the transition. How you transition makes all the difference, people. Again, not to scale, but the ball's more or less gone out for a throw-in with Semedo. And if you look at it, Podence, who was a nuisance and was doing chop Cruyff turn City against us, he's actually dropped deep and was involved very well, people, in the build-up to this goal. They've moved it around quite well. Like I said, Podence was involved. They've moved it from right to left very well. They've recycled it well. They looked very good. Like I said, Podence actually starts to move, people. And then obviously you can see the sequence of play that obviously led to the cross coming in. You know, it fell to Adama, and again, 1v1 battles, you have to win them. He doesn't. Adama's on the road running thing. He's put a cross in. You know, Dendoncker, well, this is Jimenez or Fabiano. Dendoncker, for the purpose of this, obviously crashes it against the bar. Pedro Neto continues his run. And like you saw, you know, Bellerin, Luiz, Gabriel tried a thing. Bare people have switched off. People are not aware. We're a calamity defensively. Pedro Neto scores. He deserves his goal, and he goes from strength to strength. Pedro Neto has done quite well, and you'd imagine he's going to follow on from Jota in a couple of seasons or whatever, in that, you know, the Liverpools and the league champions and all of these things might be looking at you, people. We let ourselves down. You know, that first goal was poor. Equally, the second one is poor as well. Again, it's poor in the transition, people. Again, you know, we've counter-attacked, and Saka's tried to play a pass and it's been cut out. As you remember, admittedly I can't remember what other player it falls to after that, but eventually you find yourself in a position like here where Tini's there as well. It's like Xhaka and Tini. Now Tini tries. Xhaka is span. You all saw it. It's a good bit of skill. Xhaka is span, you know. And from there, like I said, defensive transition. We're too open. They've span us. And they're in, people. And eventually, you lot saw it. Eventually, Podence gets his goal. And it's well deserved. But again, far too open on the transition. Our front men are getting back far too slow. Even Bellerin. And they're picking us apart. Adama is getting inside. I'd say even Semedo, if I was Wolves, they should have even tried to get forward, you know. That Martial guy is not really the most expensive of fullbacks, but even him, Neto had the freedom of the city. Podence, like I said, has been involved and got his goal. Midfield, way too far apart. Way too far apart consistently, and you could see the midfield runners. Joe Willock's trying, but you know, you've got three men in midfield who are not passing together, you know, who are playing poor for them by their own points, and they're poorly coached, because like you saw in the last game, statistically, they're not knocking the ball about with each other enough. You know, Aubameyang's isolated. A handful of times it's going to him, and I'm not excusing Aubameyang because I think he was very poor in that game. You know, Willian got his assist. No point even talking about the goal. Yeah, it was a good little delivery from Willian, and let's just say this is Gabriel. Gabriel headed it. What's the point speaking about that? You know, we let ourselves down. All I can say, the main point for this video, and the main point for me taking away from the Wolves game, we're so poor and stale and lackluster in the attacking transition, extremely naive in the defensive transition. For me, I see that as suicide. If you as a fullback or a midfielder want to get drawn out by the threat on the counter attack, it's scary. It's very scary. You know, wide men are being pulled apart. Wide men are being forced into wide areas, and for Arteta, it's another game where he's been tactically outdone. I'm not saying it was poor to play 4 at the back, because both teams did it. Didn't react in the game. Our team didn't start well. You know, it's exactly a mirror image of Villa, apart from the scoreline. Wolves and Villa started strongly. We were very reactive. The only good thing we did in that game was actually scoring the equaliser 3 minutes after conceding. You know, to concede 3 minutes before half time, it just shows this team has poor game management. This team does a lot of talking but not a lot of doing, and it's more of the same, people. Like, what more can I say? You know, we could have said this against anyone, and for me, Arteta keeps being tactically outdone. You know, you've got Nuno, you've got Bielsa, you've got Dean Smith, you've got Rodgers. You know, they've all done you in game as well. You know, you've not reacted well enough. And some of these men are not justifying their starts. Like, you know, Joe Willock, a so-so one. Do I think Joe Willock's played his way into the North London derby? Obviously not. Xhaka and Ceballos by default will probably have to play. Do they deserve to? Not. Are they putting any pressure on the spots with Partey and El Nene's absence? Of course not. You know, not too many players across this whole team are standing up to be counted. Bellerin keeps consistently being hot and cold. Leno, you know, I know it took a little deflection, but again, I can't lie, people. I've watched it again. I think it's poor. I think it's poor, and I think Leno has that in him, and he's had it this season. Leno's a good shot stopper, but when you've got when you've got a collective bunch of individuals who have good and bad moments, who make individual errors, who don't learn from their mistakes, it's a calamity. And we already probably have to focus on the Europa League. But like last year, we let ourselves down over 2 legs. You know, mathematically, a lot is still possible, but it can't be done. Like, it can't be done because we don't see a system. We don't know what we're trying to do. I hear a lot of talking by the players and a lack of doing. And this is firmly why we're in this position, people. Firmly why we're here. If we try and find some statistics, like, it's pretty damning, people. Like, the statistics are damning. Like, what more is there for me to say, man? Like, you know, around 30% of the passes that were made by Arsenal after they got the ball from Xhaka and Ceballos saw Wolves take possession. So we were dispossessed consistently last night. You know, Arsenal have 13 points after 10 games, which is our lowest ever points tally at this stage of the season. You know, what more is there to say, people? Shots per game in the Premier League, we're 17th with 9.4. You know, Wolves have only ever had more than 5 shots on target in the first half of a game in 2 of their previous 237 Premier League games they've played. And if you lot know, Wolves don't shoot enough in the first half, so why was it against us that was a thing? You know, Arsenal failed to have a shot on target in the second half, people, which tells you everything. You know, a minute before the game's done, once again, Aubameyang is crossing the ball. This tells you all the issues in the squad, people. Mikel Arteta is the first manager to lose is the first manager to lose 3 consecutive home league games since Terry McNeil in March 1977. This is Arsenal's worst start to a league season after 10 games since 1981-82. And for me, it was the contrast in Wolves and us. You know, like, Wolves, you saw intent. Us, you saw we don't know what we're doing. Like, a lot of you genuinely felt like, I look like a lot of these players would have preferred to have been like me and watching it on the TV. Gabriel is a quality player, but one thing I don't want to see him amongst is our top goal scorers. Gabriel is Arsenal's joint second top goal scorer in the Premier League, people, which tells you all the issues there is. Willian got his 3rd assist. I mean, his first. He got a 3rd assist for Arsenal in the Premier League, and his first since the start of the season, which again highlights underperforming things. Arsenal failed to keep a clean sheet in any of their last 8 Premier League home matches. So again, this defensive thing is extremely overstated and overrated. Arsenal have completed 3 passes to Aubameyang, David Luiz, Saka and Bellerin at that point with 1 apiece. You know, Arsenal found a teammate with just 3 of their 36 crosses against Wolves. It tells you all there needs to be, man. It tells you all there needs to be. And actually, if you look at our shots per game now, it's steadily dropping, people. In November, it's at 1.55. You know, as you can see, we sit 14th in the top flight now. We're 8 points off the top, and we're 8 points off relegation. You know, the last time we had such a poor record, Mikel Arteta, our manager, wasn't even born, which highlights everything. I would say players need to stop hiding, but again, a lot of what I've said throughout the course of this video isn't much different with anything that could have been said against Leeds, against Villa, and the rest of it, people. It doesn't make sense, does it? On that note, I'm going to get out of here, man. People, DG, I'm out.